Hello, everybody. We are late. Puppetine standard time has been it has come, and I know it's a little later than intended, and I apologize for that. But I am here now. Hello. And to join me for Castlevania Season 3 review, we have Froggy up here. How are you, Froggy?
I'm ecstatic. It just took me 30 minutes to prepare. So I'm glad you sleep, I wanted to be ready for this. And I'm done. Good night.
Oh, he's already gone. Okay, bye. And below me, we have Dalton the Authenticator. How are you today, Dalton?
I am good. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, good.
And joining me from the Bad Batch today, we have Zach. Hello, Zach. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Puppetine? Happy to be here this week.
I find it a bit ironic that you said he's from the Bad Batch, considering he's the prettiest of the four of us. So that's a little bit ironic, but never mind.
He's the stable boy.
I don't have any horses. He's stable boy.
The joke goes way over his head.
I think we can upgrade him to Dread Pirate Roberts now. He's no longer the stable boy anymore.
You have gotten a promotion.
Yes.
He might be unstable though.
Second best character in the movie.
I take it back. He's unstable.
Right behind Billy Crystal.
Anyway, getting to the point. Season 3 of Castlevania. We have finished 1 and 2, and we've reached Season 3, which is a total of 10 episodes. And, they're all stored quite well in this old noggin here, but I don't think a recap of great lengths is necessary. I'm just going to say that we go right where we left off, and I'm going to let each of us take a moment to say our favorite scene. So, Froggy, do you want to go ahead and start?
Favorite scenes. Basically, Saint Germain. When they're sitting at the bar, they're drinking the ale. And then Sypha's like, "You're gonna look at me." He's like, "No, I'm not. You're gonna crack like an egg." And he's just like, "Help."
Oh, Sypha and Trevi are amazing, yes.
Well, Saint Germain is one of the new characters introduced in this season, along with the judge,
Bill Nye.
And
is Bill Nighy that voices Saint Germain, isn't it?
Yes, and for those that don't know, Saint Germain, I believe, makes his first appearance in the games in the game Castlevania: Curse of Darkness. For anyone that's wondering where Saint Germain is from, he's also a quasi-mythological historical figure, the immortal Count Saint Germain, but that's a slightly different story.
I definitely enjoyed the character of Saint Germain. But going along with the trend, Dalton, since you were last speaking, how about you tell us your favorite scene of Season 3?
Favorite scenes of Season 3. Basically, everything with Isaac is my favorite scene because he had the best character development of basically any character in animation I have seen in years. He went from my least favorite character in Season 2 to my most favorite character in Season 3 by virtue of the awesomeness that was his character development this season. Top 2 scenes with Isaac have to be the telling off the arrogant town guard scene, and the scene with the captain basically giving him life advice. Both of those were tops for me.
I definitely agree with that. There was a character introduced who was transporting Isaac as he was making his way towards Carmilla and her sisters, which are also introduced in this season. And I feel like he definitely deserves some more scenes, but at least he got to live. That's what I'm going to say. Out of all the characters that have passed Isaac's way, he was the only one who was like, you know what? I don't want to die.
Well, I mean, there was also Miranda, the elderly magician woman. She
yes, but she was kind of mad.
and the shopkeeper. Although he was old enough that I'm half convinced that immediately after Isaac left, he died.
Yeah, I did like the shopkeeper. He was funny at the end. He's like, I'm probably gonna end up in hell one day. Might not be a bad idea to have a favor from
To have a
fortune
fortune master would be a favor.
It's like that guy's smart. He's playing the long game.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. And well, not finally, but Zach, how about you? What was your favorite scene of season 3?
Probably, I don't know if I can narrow. There's probably a few scenes, but basically anything with Trevor and Sypha, those two probably have my favorite of the 4 storylines that we have this season long. You go from like one coherent story in season 2 to all of a sudden it branches off, and there's 4 different paths in season 3. But I think Trevor and Sypha probably have the best one. I like all the fun scenes. I think probably the beginning stands out the most because you can tell they're in their traveling station, just going town to town, killing monsters, and Sypha's having a ton of fun with it. Like it's a game, and Trevor's going along with it. And just kind of seeing that whole transformation. Because then by the time you get to the end of the season, they're leaving the town, Lindenfeld, and Lindenfeld, and the ending is just so effed up. Sypha's like, why do I feel so bad? And Trevor's like, well, we spent the last month living your life, and now we get to live mine. Like seeing that whole transition between the two of their
and
really cool.
the periodic reminder of this is medieval Romania, and Dracula had a point.
The best season, or the best part of the season is where she starts swearing. She's like, "You ruined me. You turned me into you."
Well, that's season 4.
That's
season
not
4.
this season.
Spoiler.
Well, he would have known. Now he knows.
Now I know. I actually did think something like that happened this season, but yeah.
It was really. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I just thought about probably my favorite scene is when they roll into the town and there's the guy with the beer stand, and he's like,
that was exactly what I was just going to bring up.
You killed that werewolf, you get a beer for free. So he gets the beer and he starts drinking it, and Trevor's like, oh, it's better than sex. And
Trevor, my boyo, this is why you don't piss off the elemental sorceress in the room.
Yeah, this is where Trevor needs to learn to filter his thoughts into words. That was hysterical. It's like, okay, these guys might not legally be married.
But it's amazing. Like, I just meant differently good. And then she's like, well, I hope you sleep up with a foot wedge all the way up here.
They've successfully gone to the status of married couple. They old married couple in attitude.
Well, yeah, but they're not technically there yet.
Not technically married, but they're like, they act married.
That's next season.
I do have to ask though, were you sleeping or were you stuck in the infinite corridor?
Well, I might have been sleepwalking through the corridor. That was one of the major key elements of this season because Saint Germain was after the Infinite Corridor to go after a certain someone who was trapped there.
Yeah. Also a key feature of him in the games, by the way. That's but by the time he shows up in the games in Curse of Darkness, he has mastered the Infinite Corridor.
That's neat.
It was nice. It was nice to see them touch on that. Now, granted, I think there was a level of opportunism or pragmatism about it because this leaves open the possibility of a Castlevania multiverse, which, quite frankly, yes, please. If the creative team behind this show is behind any other show, I will be on board for it, pretty much.
Yep. From this moment, I think my favorite scene, I'll go over my favorite scene, then we can look at some comments. My favorite scene is honestly, I really think the one with, oh no, her name is, it's like right here, Luann? Lenore. Yes, Lenore and
Hector.
Hector. My gosh. Names. I'm terrible with them. Hector and Lenore, during the season, Lenore has to slowly convince Hector to serve her and her sisters because, well, she's trying to get Carmilla's
she's
plan.
the diplomat of the quartet. Yeah.
She's trying to get Carmilla's plan into motion, and they need Hector to make, well, an army.
Yeah.
So to do that, she slowly tries to appease to him, but it's not all kindness. I really thought it was going to be, but she can be quite cruel at times.
Yeah.
But
to be fair to Lenore, a lot of that is putting on a good front for her sisters, because without spoiling anything, we find out later that she's more sincere about the diplomacy than you might think after the absolute clusterfuck that was the end of this season.
Yeah, but I really like the sisters. I like Striga. And then Morana was all right, but Striga was like freaking huge. I was like, and I'm thinking like, this is the woman that would just destroy everyone if she wanted to.
Well, I mean, Slavic vampire woman. So yeah. But I have to say, of the vampire sisters, Striga and Morana as a couple are probably my favorite, just because they seem to be the only ones who are kind of hip to the fact that everyone around them is crazy. They kind of just go off and do their own thing, and I absolutely adore the scene where they're talking about Carmilla's scheme, and they realize how to make it work, and it's like, vampires and sisters, I have a scheme. It's just a great moment. I love it.
Yeah, they're constantly mocking her up on the church, the tower, and they're just saying like, here she comes, another scheme.
Yeah, and then Carmilla's reaction is perfect. You call it a scheme? Well, it is a scheme.
yes,
Carmilla is probably my favorite character in the show, actually. Since season 1, I love Trevor. I love Sypha.
Too is when she shows up.
Yeah,
that is a little bit of an on take to me because of how little screen time she actually has this season. I didn't think about it a lot before, but she shows up in, I believe, 2 episodes. It might be 3. But
she's definitely the least interesting of her sisters. Is my opinion, and I'm still mad at her for everything she did in season 2, because that just was like, there's being manipulative to serve your own end, and then there's just being cruel. And had she actually been nice to Hector and not strapped him to
go tied him up like a slave and dragged him across the land. Yeah. I think
into the middle of the mountains with no shoes, and then locked him in a cell and dosed him with ice water. Although, to be fair, that probably wasn't directly her fault.
I really got to talk a minute about how bad I feel for Hector. And all during this, I didn't realize just how cruel Lenore could be, because you hear her sisters talk about how she could be to the point that she would look for crutches for a spider missing a leg.
Yeah, tore the castle apart for looking for something small enough to make a splint out of.
Yep.
And Lenore's little reaction of no with the pouty face is adorable.
Oh no, she's definitely the cutest of her sisters, and there's no doubt about
I don't
that.
know what you mean by cruel, because he tried to attack her and she put him in his place. And I'm like, hey,
not that.
The bit with the binding ring at the end, I think is what he's referring to.
Down the road. Actually, I would say even after the whole thing with the binding ring, when she brings them before her sisters and Hector tries to say, I don't think he gets 2 words, and she's like, shh, the real people are talking. And she's
I do want to point out that was mostly probably just a see, I can do it for her sister's benefit, because
also, well, if she didn't, he didn't cooperate, he would have died. Eventually, they would have got sick of him and just killed him.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but
yeah, but
I think what the cruelty that Puppetine was talking about was like basically she, butters him up throughout the season, gets him to trust her, and then all of a sudden he's like, she says at the very end of the season, she's like, I've made you my bitch, basically. Like, you're my pet now. You can do nothing. You're bound to me and my, you
Yeah,
have no,
although
you have a safe space, you have a nice, comfortable life, but you have no agency anymore.
yeah, in her defense though, that was, I think, her trying to be as diplomatic as she possibly could have been in this instance, because had she not put some kind of binding on him, all of the night creatures he made would have been loyal to him, and they would have been royally screwed over.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I do definitely agree. But at the same time, for Hector, this is just not a situation you want to be in. He my life is over. I'm a slave.
Yeah, he broke the golden rule. He stuck his nether regions in crazy and paid the appropriate price for that.
To be fair, though,
this advice. We're getting this advice on crazy women from the most on that spectrum here.
I just want to point out that calling her crazy, the guy was raising half-dead dogs. You think he's not crazy himself? It's crazy thinking it's not crazy.
Well,
that's true. You should have picked up on
honestly,
that.
I tend to agree with Dracula and Isaac's assessment on Hector.
That he's retarded?
He is by far the most human of the quote unquote villain characters in
He hated humans. I don't think he'd call him human. He just loved animals.
I thought Isaac hated the humans.
No,
yeah,
Hector did too.
Isaac was the more nihilistic one, and Hector mostly hated humans because they didn't understand him. Because because remember in season 2 with the flashback, we see him using sorcery or forge mastery for bringing his dead dog back to life, and apparently his parents threw a shit fit over it, and they apparently kept throwing a shit fit over it, and eventually it was either kill them or be beat the fuck out of. So I have to side a little bit with Hector on that, because really the only thing he used his talents for, apart from occasionally being a little bit vindictive when people screwed him over, which I can't necessarily blame him for, was I just want pets. That's not. He's basically the adult version of Newt Scamander, or the better written version of Newt Scamander from the Harry Potter franchise.
All right. Well, at this point, we talked about favorite scenes. I think we should discuss favorite character. It can be their growth, how they performed this season, little things like that.
I also feel like we should address the comments first before we do anything else, because you've been ignoring them the whole entire time.
Gasp.
Okay,
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yes, we were a little late, but we are here now. Marania says that you channel the cute side of the Force.
Cute and deadly.
Backyard Moment says, yay, it finally started. We have a snatch face saying, sup puppet peoples. Well, there's 2 of us, and the people are down there.
But wait, what if we're not the puppets? What if they're the puppets?
Yeah, don't you do that. Don't you do that.
I've got no strings to hold me down.
See what you got him started doing?
Oh, he doesn't even have
stuff England does.
He's not on camera. I can't do the same thing.
I know, it's cruel.
I keep prepared.
Froggy. Cruel. All right.
Quit trying to fist him.
Oh no. We have a Marania.
If I can't
Hello,
fist him, you'll know.
To see you. Can we get the commentaries one at a time, please? Well, I mean, I think we've been pretty good at stopping in between each other. Backyard Moment says that I need to take control.
I agree with that person. You need to direct the questions. Then when one person shuts up, you gotta direct the question to another person.
Well, I mean,
you have the power of the mute button.
I do have the power of the mute button. I just haven't felt the need to use it, because when we're talking, sometimes we say one thing, like when Zach was a little confused about Hector's situation before, or something along those lines, and Dalton went on to explain.
The art of conversation, folks. It's hard to do when you're on a script.
You could just mute everybody and then let people talk when you want to.
Well, this isn't an empire, sir. This is
the Puppetiner.
Well, nobody talked to me about making the binding rings, so I don't even have the appropriate binding rings to do this. If Puppetine wanted to make it a puppet empire, we could have done that, but
I can make one easily.
Nobody told me 6 months ago that I needed to have those binding rings ready. So yeah.
That is true, and that's on me. I'll do better.
Yes.
Marani would like to learn about this season, what it's covering. I should have done a recap, I guess.
Yeah, because we're bouncing all over the place. It's like crazy. Like you guys are all drinking my coffee or something.
Alrighty.
Okay. Well, Alucard is grieving because he killed his own father, as can be expected.
Yep.
He attempts to fill the void in his life left by Trevor and Sypha by tutoring these other two vampire hunters in the arts of vampire hunting and magic and so forth, and they screw him over, quite literally. Meanwhile, Isaac is attempting to make his way to Hector and Carmilla because bitches need to be avenged and so on. Hector is getting screwed over because he mistakenly trusts the least of the vampire sisters that run Carmilla's kingdom, and
that's Lenore.
He forgets the golden rule, and it comes back to magically bite him in the ass. Meanwhile, Trevor and Sypha run into the new character, the immortal Count Saint Germain, and there's shenanigans with a wild night creature created by Isaac using a couple of mad priests in a local town priory to try and bring Dracula back from the dead using the magic of a multiversial transversing wormhole / portal system called the Infinite Corridor, which is Saint Germain's specialty in the game that Saint Germain is from.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on. That's why I said it's very different from the previous two seasons. Because season 1 and 2, it's like, hey, here's Dracula and his night creatures. Here's our trio of heroes. Go. And then here it's like 4 different storylines that have
we have no Dracula, and things happened when Dracula died. So now
so I said it's best to watch the show. Unless we show the a 30-minute of just clips. But
well, yeah, you know what? I'm glad Dalton actually explained it because he went a lot faster than I would have. I would have gone through.
Thank you, Authenticator. We would have been here all week.
I tried to summarize it in as flippant and funny a way as I possibly could. Hopefully, I've succeeded.
Yeah, you did. You definitely did. Actually, I do want to talk about Isaac because you said it's your favorite character in this season.
Oh, yes. He goes like I've said, I think a couple times last season or last time, and a couple of times this time. He goes from being a one-dimensional fatalistic nihilist to someone that is still misanthropic and still doesn't particularly like humanity, but understands the notion that some people are worth preserving and other people can go fuck themselves, is essentially the character development that he comes to. He goes from being one-dimensionally nihilistic to being, I'll give people a chance, and if they don't take the chance I give them, then screw them. But, that to me, that's an entirely understandable life philosophy, because that's kind of where I sit most of the time.
Yep. I really do enjoy where he goes from here. Honestly, one of his journeys is the opposite of our heroes. Alucard and Trevor and Sypha, they in their missions feeling quite disappointed.
Yeah,
Just
they start out very optimistic, and then reality catches up to them, and it's like, oh wait, we're in 15th century Romania among peasants. This is not going to go well.
Yep. And I really do enjoy his final fight because he has to face basically this person who is able to take over the souls of a being and give them this hollow crown of thorns that makes them puppets. Really.
Oh,
He's able
yes,
to throw them around like rag dolls.
yeah. The swarm creature that Isaac fights in the end of the season actually comes from the games. It has a specific name. In the games, that entity is called Legion, and sometimes when it shows up as just human bodies, but sometimes later on in the games shows up because all the flesh has been taken off of the bodies, and it becomes a swarm of skeletons.
Alrighty. I think, Froggy, how about you tell us your favorite character of this season?
Like I said, it varies because like I do like Camilla, the little we see of her. For basically it's because she's the person that gets things done. She's able to manipulate other people. Yes, which is kind of cool. Lenore's alright. Lenore kind of got on my nerves, like the whole thing, and I get tired of seeing Hector freaking naked in this. I'm like, can we just put pants on this guy already for 5 freaking episodes?
They did. Eventually, they did pants and shoes because he kept making a thing about the shoes.
I mean, Alucard just felt so awkward watching him, and then here comes his two twins. Hey, want to come over? But the best part, though, and I've talked to Dalton about this before, is when he starts doing the voices for the little dolls of the little mix of Trevor.
Oh yes. In the pilot or in the first episode of season 3,
let Froggy go ahead and explain because this is his moment.
The frog's
okay, go
talking.
ahead.
No, yeah, he made a little because he was so lonely, and like he dresses. I don't know if I've been here for like a month or it's been a year. He lost track of time, which is kind of weird. I'm like, just get a freaking sundial. You'll know what day it is.
Well, but he mentally, remember, he's a child because Alucard aged quickly because he's a Dompier, and he's a child who just recently had to deal with the burning of his mother at the stake and the needing to kill his own father lest his own father destroy all of humanity and or all life in the world. So,
yeah, but so he makes a little. Anyway, he's lonely. He's basically correct. He's got the little puppets inside the kitchen. He's got one of Sci-Fi. He's got one of Trevor, and he imitates the other voice actors' voices, and it's freaking awesome. And that's probably the best scene of the whole entire show.
Yeah, because he misses his friends and therefore creates these dolls to act as surrogates for them, and it's kind of adorable.
He's really, I really almost wish we had at least 2 scenes with that. He made the dolls, might as well use them. But that leaves you, Zach. How about who is your favorite character of this season?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd say I liked Alucard's journey kind of throughout the season, which the last time I saw this season, I thought he had the weaker of the 4 storylines. I thought his was the weakest one, but this time it's kind of, I caught more of it this time where he starts out like he's the hero from last season. He kills his dad and everything, kills Dracula. And you see him, he's trying to do like the good thing, the heroic thing. He's trying to teach these two, these vampire hunters from Japan how to kill vampires and monsters and stuff. But then when you get to the end of the season, he basically starts to show these instances where like maybe he's going to turn into his dad. Because like the 2 twins end up betraying him at the end of the season. They try to kill him. Alucard, of course, defeats them. But what he does is, the last scene you see of him, he's walking inside of his castle and the camera zooms out and the 2 twins are impaled on stakes, just like Dracula does, where he has all the skeletons impaled in front of his castle.
Yeah,
so
because,
kind of that
because maybe I could put up signs, but this usually seemed to work for Dad.
Yeah.
was the line.
So that was interesting to see. Probably my favorite one though is I still really like Sypha's character a lot. So it's almost just as depressing seeing her go from like a high and then down low, because she starts out the season happy. Oh, I'm out here killing monsters, making jokes with Trevor. He's my brain damaged sir, all that fun stuff. But then you get to the end of the season, everything they go through with the village and the judge and the prior, and it's just like, oh, this is the real world. This isn't a game. This isn't, a fantasy or an adventure book. This is real life.
Consequences.
Yeah.
Sypha.
Yeah.
So, rather than talk about a favorite character, I'm going to take this moment to actually address the judge, because he is the one who reminds us how dark and how right Dracula might have been. Why? Well, the judge seemingly is somebody who just ended up back in the town he, I believe, grew up in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he is there to take control. He leads his town.
He's the landlord. It's the medieval sense of what a judge is. It's not a court judge. It's a township judge, which is essentially just the lead man of a village.
He's basically a mayor.
So as he tells Trevor and Sypha that he thought they were just two adventurers, but seeing who they really are, he would like them to investigate this church filled with Dracula followers. But as he's going on, you see little moments with him in town, and there's only one moment that you have that after he tells this little boy to go pick 3 apples from his special apple tree down across the creek and stuff.
Yeah, and when you first see it, you think he's being kind. However,
it's not a metaphor, by the way. Picking things off, it's not a metaphor. There's a real tree. It's not a
There
metaphor.
is a real apple tree, yeah.
Yeah,
Had
the kid. I wonder what would have happened had the kid been smart enough to go around the
backside,
the trap pit. Yeah.
So there's one moment before Trevor and Sypha bring one of the cultists into his office that we see him come from a room in the back, and he's covered in sweat and breathing heavy, and we're a little confused, I suppose. It isn't revealed until the end. That room is a shrine filled with kids' shoes.
Because the judge
judged
his community, and while he did, and I liked the nuance of the judge's character, because he's not a one-dimensional cackling villain. He does care about his town, and he cares about his people, and he considered it his responsibility to control his town and his people, which is why he ends up on the wrong side of the priory. However, when you displease the judge and you create chaos and disorder in his town, you sir or madam or miss or mister are taken care of. And
so what I want to say is the judge, even though he is a horrible, horrible human being at this point, and we learn that, he's never actually shown as a villain. He's on the side of the heroes this entire time. And the Trevor and Sypha never suspected this. They had no reason to.
Yep.
So he's right there fighting on their side the entire way through. And then they find out about the judge and his little pleasures.
Because like it or not, bad people are still people. And I like that element of the thing, because it does harken back to the bishop in season 1 and 2, and reminds us of, like, actually, when you get right down to it, maybe Dracula and his side had a point.
Speaking of Dracula, Marania asks if Dracula is really and truly dead. He is in hell. How do we know? Because the infinite corridor is set by the massive night demon that has been basically sitting down and okay, I'm ready for my ritual, and he opens the infinite corridor to hell to get Dracula.
Yeah.
It in fact shows him and his wife, and he's about to reach for it when Saint Germain hops on top and makes the creature.
Yeah. And it was a nice touch to have Saint Germain use the same mind control spell on the night creature that the magician who conjured Legion did to like bind all of the bodies and such.
Oh, I didn't notice that. But
yeah. If you look when he's grabbing a hold of the night creature and on top of it, and he's saying like, "Come be what I want you to be, you fucking bastard." His fingers flash with green lightning, which is the same spell as what's used on the people that constitute Legion to bind them by the magician that Isaac fights.
Yes, in season 3, he's been dead since end of season 2, so
Yeah.
Dracula's not in there. But
Grant McTavish, the voice actor, he does not have any lines, or he's not in the show.
No, they just show a brief
Dracula
second.
he doesn't say anything when he sees the infinite corridor. He's just like, what is this? And he sort of reaches for it for a minute.
It's basically like in hell, they're like in a destroyed home remains. He's sitting there hugging his wife, and then they look over and they see something, and then he goes out of reach, and then the portal closes.
Yeah.
And
why is his wife in hell? That's the thing. It's like, why is Lisa Tafish in hell? Like, is she a good one?
And that's because she banged a dead guy. I don't know. Maybe that's
I mean, she was the wife of Vlad Dracula Tepish, Lord of all vampires, and apparently like the pagan deity of darkness and whatnot. So like,
I guess so. That makes sense.
But I really think at that point, I think that's really a nice send-off. We've addressed every character and where we go so far. I am really looking forward to the last season of the show. I believe we'll try to cover it next week. If not, it might be the week after. It all depends. But what I do want to do is thank everybody so much for joining us. I want to thank Froggy and the Dalton, the Authenticator, and of course Zach from the Bad Batch for joining us here on I Love Puppets. It's always great to have a conversation, and it really keeps the show rolling. I also want to thank everybody in the audience. That means you too, Maranya, and everybody watching, and I'm again going to apologize for keeping everybody waiting. Puppetine Standard Time, it really hasn't shown effect until now. But with that being said, if you're watching this after, please like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to build this channel. 43 as of last night, and hopefully still growing. So one last thank you to everybody, and a final goodbye!
Cheers, guys.